Chosen ones, you may not realize it yet, but many of the prayers you have been lifting up in recent months and even years are not reaching heaven the way you expect. There is a weight in the spiritual realm, a silent barrier that has been placed not as punishment, but as a divine correction. And it is critical for you to understand that 2026 is unlike any year you have experienced before. The world around you is shifting at a pace you cannot fully comprehend, and the spiritual forces that govern outcomes are responding differently to prayers that are misaligned with God's current purpose. For years, many of you have been praying from a place of habit, repeating words without truly understanding the intention behind them, asking for outcomes that may feel right in your human heart but are not in accordance with the divine plan. In this year, God is calling the chosen ones to examine not just the content of their prayers, but the very posture of their hearts. Prayers that are filled with doubt, anger, resentment, fear, or manipulation are being intercepted, and although it may feel as if heaven is silent, this silence is purposeful. It is not indifference. It is a recalibration, a wake-up call. You are being asked to shed the superficial forms of prayer and to embrace a depth of intimacy that requires vulnerability, humility, and surrender. Those who are used to praying for personal gain, recognition, or to force the hand of God over others' lives will find that their prayers hit a ceiling, a barrier that cannot be crossed until they realign with higher purpose. The Spirit is urging you to listen, not to speak, to wait, not to push, to seek alignment with heaven, not to chase earthly solutions. Many chosen ones have been faithful in attendance, in ritual, in speaking words of prayer, yet the heart behind those words has often been clouded by expectation, comparison, or self-centered desire. God is saying clearly in 2026, if your prayer is transactional, if it is fueled by impatience or control, it will not move mountains. If your prayer comes from a divided heart, half trusting God and half trusting your own plans, it will be met with resistance in the spiritual realm. The time of surface-level prayer is over. The time of repetitive, formulaic speech without authentic engagement is over. 2026 is demanding depth, spiritual clarity, and a posture of listening more than asking. You may have noticed a pattern emerging. Some prayers seem to bounce back, unanswered, and yet the same words, spoken by others in different circumstances, are moving mountains. This is no coincidence. The difference lies in the alignment of heart and purpose. Heaven cannot act on prayers that are misaligned with divine will, and right now, there is a divine will being revealed that you must see if you want your prayers to pierce through. It is not enough to pray. You must know why you are praying and for what purpose. You must confront hidden motives, unexamined desires, and unresolved bitterness. Many chosen ones carry invisible spiritual weights, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being seen or heard, that seep into their prayers without them realizing it. These weights are the reason heaven may feel like it is blocking you. God is asking for authenticity, a raw honesty that strips away pride, pretense, and spiritual complacency. Do not be afraid to pray boldly, but pray from a heart that has been purified through reflection, humility, and alignment with divine guidance. Stop asking God to fulfill the desires of the ego or to manipulate outcomes for personal comfort. Start asking God to reveal your purpose, to reveal the areas in your life where compromise has dulled your spiritual effectiveness, and to guide you toward prayers that carry eternal significance. This year, every word, every intention, every thought counts more than ever. The spiritual realm is finely tuned, sensitive to the subtleties of your heart. A prayer spoken with distraction, laziness, or divided attention may be heard, but it will not have power. A prayer born from desperation without surrender will be met with delay. A prayer wrapped in complaint, resentment, or comparison will be met with silence until the heart is corrected. You are being called to a higher standard, chosen ones. You are being asked to step into a discipline of prayer that is contemplative, reflective, and intentional. You are being asked to stop praying for comfort, for temporary fixes, for shortcuts, and instead to pray for alignment with your calling, for discernment, and for obedience. 2026 is a year of testing, and the silence you feel is a part of the test. The silence is meant to refine you, to purify the motives behind your words, and to prepare you for a breakthrough that is far greater than you can imagine. Do not mistake delay for rejection. Do not mistake the absence of immediate results for absence of attention. Heaven is always listening, but it listens differently when the heart is misaligned. This is why certain prayers are being blocked now. They are blocked not because God is unwilling, but because the content and energy behind them are not yet ready to co-create with the divine. You are being asked to pray in a new way, one that rises above mere human reasoning and taps into the eternal. This requires faith that is not passive but active, patience that is not weak but strong, and humility that is not submissive but powerful in its authenticity. When you approach prayer in this way, your words will pierce through the barriers that have blocked you. Your heart will carry a frequency that heaven responds to immediately, and your intentions will align with purpose that transcends the temporary trials of 2026. Chosen ones, this is not a gentle correction, it is urgent. You must stop repeating old patterns and start praying with insight, wisdom, and discernment. The days of asking God to bend to human will are over. The days of asking for things that do not serve your eternal purpose are over. The days of speaking without listening, of demanding without waiting, of commanding without surrender are over. The Spirit is calling you to a higher form of dialogue with heaven, where your prayers are not a list of requests, but a conversation of trust, clarity, and obedience. If you feel frustration, it is because your prayers are not yet aligned. If you feel heaviness, it is because your heart carries what is blocking them. If you feel silence, it is because God is waiting for you to adjust your approach. This adjustment is not external, it is internal. Examine your motives, purify your intentions, elevate your expectations from self-serving to divine serving, and your prayers will begin to move with power. The breakthrough you have longed for is not far, but it requires that you pray differently, think differently, and act differently. 2026 is a year of spiritual refinement for the chosen ones. You are being called to step into the most intimate, powerful, and effective form of prayer you have ever experienced. Stop praying as if God is a distant observer. Stop praying with half-hearted faith. Stop praying to manipulate circumstances. Instead, pray with surrender, with obedience, with clarity, and with love for the divine will above all else. This is how your prayers will break through in 2026. This is how heaven will open its gates to you. This is how the barriers will fall, the silence will end, and the long-awaited answers will arrive. God is not blocking you to punish you. God is blocking you to prepare you, to purify you, and to elevate you so that when your prayers finally move, they will move in a way that changes your life forever. Chosen ones, the path to unlocking heaven's response in 2026 is not complicated, but it requires precision, discipline, and a deep awareness of the spiritual realm you are navigating, for prayer is no longer a casual exercise, it is a sacred dialogue with eternity that demands clarity, alignment, and a heart free from hidden agendas. To begin, you must recognize that praying effectively is not about volume or repetition. It is about resonance with God's will, and resonance cannot exist where there is confusion, doubt, or divided attention. You must enter your prayer with intention, not habit, and with expectation, not entitlement, for heaven responds to hearts that are fully present and fully surrendered. This means that before you speak a single word, you must examine the soil of your spirit, removing weeds of resentment, bitterness, fear, impatience, and pride, because even the smallest impurity can create resistance that blocks your prayers from taking root in the spiritual realm. As you cultivate your heart, you will learn to speak words that carry power, not because they are dramatic or loud, but because they are aligned with eternal purpose, infused with clarity, and carried by unwavering faith. Do not pray to manipulate circumstances or to force others to act according to your will. Pray to align yourself with the divine order, to see clearly the path God has set before you, and to release everything that is not part of your God-given assignment. When you pray this way, Every word resonates with heaven, every intention aligns with the Spirit, and what has been blocked begins to flow without struggle. In this year, it is essential to understand that prayer is both an inward and outward act. It is the purification of the heart as well as the declaration of faith. Speak from the depth of your being, and do not allow distractions, doubts, or worldly concerns to infiltrate your moments of sacred communication, because even fleeting thoughts of impatience or envy can create interference. You must pray with authority, yet with humility, knowing that true power is not in demanding or instructing, but in submitting fully while trusting that God is orchestrating circumstances beyond what your eyes can see. Begin your prayers by acknowledging the sovereignty of God, giving thanks not just for what has been, but for what is yet to come, and trusting that every delayed answer carries within it a divine purpose. Then move into intercession, not for selfish gain, but for alignment with God's mission in your life, for clarity of direction, and for the removal of anything that stands against your calling. Speak boldly, for God honors courage, but speak carefully, for precision matters in the spiritual realm. Avoid vague requests. Be specific in your alignment rather than in demanding outcomes, and always pair your words with heartfelt surrender. Offering yourself as an instrument of divine will rather than an architect of personal desire. It is also crucial to recognize that the timing of prayer is part of its power. Do not be discouraged when immediate results do not appear, for heaven operates on eternal timing rather than human impatience. Waiting with faith, persistence, and an unwavering heart elevates your prayer, allowing it to pierce through the blocks that would otherwise delay or dilute its effectiveness. In these moments of waiting, refine your intention, examine your motives, and continue to cultivate a spirit of humility, gratitude, and obedience, for these are the elements that awaken the response of heaven. Chosen Ones, 2026 is a year where spiritual discernment is more valuable than mere volume of words. You must listen as much as you speak, and sometimes even more. Allow the Spirit to guide your prayers, to reveal what is necessary to include, and to indicate what must be left unsaid. A prayer that is guided by the Spirit moves faster than one that is guided solely by human emotion, and it carries the authority to break chains that have long held you back. As you enter this new level of prayer, understand that fasting, reflection, and silence are powerful companions. They sharpen your focus, align your frequency with heaven, and remove the noise that blocks spiritual clarity. These disciplines do not earn favor, they prepare your heart to receive the favor that has already been promised. When you combine disciplined preparation with intentional, Spirit-led prayer, your words gain weight in the spiritual realm, and barriers that once held your breakthrough begin to collapse. Furthermore, you must be vigilant about the language of your prayer. Words are not mere sounds, they are containers of energy, and every phrase carries frequency that either attracts or repels divine intervention. Speak with authority, faith, and clarity, and avoid language that reflects fear, doubt, or manipulation, because heaven responds to truth, not to human insistence or worry. Speak with expectation, but do not demand. Declare alignment with God's will, but do not attempt to dictate outcomes. Your prayer should be a reflection of your spiritual maturity, demonstrating that you trust in the wisdom, timing, and methods of God rather than relying solely on your own understanding. In addition, recognize the power of gratitude in prayer. Thankfulness is a spiritual key that unlocks doors which effort alone cannot open. When you pray, do not focus solely on what you want to receive, but on the things you already have, the lessons learned, and the ways God has been faithful. This positions your heart to receive more, for gratitude harmonizes your spirit with heaven's frequency and dissolves blocks that come from doubt, fear, or ingratitude. Alongside gratitude, maintain a posture of humility, acknowledging that even your faith is a gift, and that every answered prayer is the result of divine grace. Do not let pride or entitlement enter your dialogue with God, for these energies create resistance in the spiritual realm and can delay breakthroughs. True power in prayer comes from the combination of authority and submission. authority in knowing who you are in God, and submission in recognizing that your ways are not higher than His. As you continue, be aware that confession, forgiveness, and release are equally essential. Unresolved anger, grudges, or guilt act as spiritual blocks that intercept your prayers. Before asking for guidance, blessing, or intervention, ensure that your heart is free from hidden resentment, unspoken offense, or unresolved conflict, because God cannot move fully in spaces where the soul carries resistance. The act of forgiving, releasing, and reconciling creates a channel that allows prayers to ascend unhindered and positions you to receive not just answers, but transformation. In this year, chosen ones, the discipline of prayer is not optional, it is essential. You must rise above casual or habitual forms and embrace a posture that reflects awareness, reverence, and intention. The way you pray in 2026 will determine the flow of divine favor in your life, your clarity of purpose, and the acceleration of your spiritual destiny. Let go of prayer that is fueled by fear, impatience, or selfish desire, and embrace prayer that is fueled by alignment, faith, surrender, and obedience. Speak with precision, listen with intention, and act in accordance with the insights received, for heaven is not passive, it responds immediately to hearts that have been refined and aligned. Remember, chosen ones, that every obstacle, every delay, and every moment of silence is a call to refine your practice of prayer, to deepen your spiritual discernment, and to elevate your heart to a level where your words carry eternal weight. When you pray from this place, the blockages that have held your breakthroughs will fall away, heaven's gates will open, and your life will begin to shift in ways that mirror divine orchestration rather than human manipulation. This is not theory, this is strategy for the chosen ones, a method for navigating 2026 with spiritual authority, wisdom, and alignment. As you commit to this higher standard, your prayers will no longer be stopped. Your voice will no longer be ignored, and the silence that has seemed so heavy will transform into a response that moves mountains, restores purpose, and fulfills your destiny according to God's perfect plan.